Hey guys, today we're going to talk about body temperature and how and why you should raise it. So I really like body temperature as a health metric because you can just buy a thermometer and anyone can measure it immediately and you can see in a second where you're at in health. There's not many things like that. Like if you feel like you have low energy, or you can't sleep, or you're anxious, like those are obviously problems, but they're hard to measure, and you don't really know so well like how much you've improved them, or whether there is room to improve them, or if you're just getting old and you're just going to be sleep deprived from here on out. But body temperature, you can immediately measure it on a range from 36 to 37 or so if you're relatively healthy, and you know exactly where you're at. Right, so for most of my life I was basically dawdling around at around 36.2 degrees Celsius, and well, getting into my 30s I was gradually getting less and less energy to do things. And my work, I remember one day at work, I was just in the middle of a meeting and suddenly I just felt like my energy dropped off a cliff. I just could barely move my body anymore. And I got stuck in that state for a few weeks. And eventually, what pulled me out of it was vitamin E. Now, vitamin E is not by any means a cure-all for low energy. There is a lot of different possible causes for low energy. But what made this vitamin E especially interesting to me was when I took it, my energy firstly increased by a lot, and secondly my temperature also increased by a lot. Within a few weeks, my temperature had gone up from 36.2 to around 37 degrees Celsius. Now, if you look up thyroid nutrition, vitamin E isn't typically in there. Like you'll mostly hear about the minerals like iodine and selenium. I think it's called maybe tyrosine, the amino acid. But the vitamin E idea I read off Ray Peat's site. Now Ray Peat, you might have heard of him. He's a relatively famous nutritionist. In fact, I'm not sure what his career is, but he's famous for his work in nutrition. And his theory, I'll probably butcher this, but his theory is that polyunsaturated fatty acids, or PUFAs, have a very detrimental effect on the body's energy, and especially thyroid. And vitamin E can in some way counteract this PUFA detrimental effect. I think one of the theories is that PUFAs get oxidized, and it's the oxidized PUFAs which have the detrimental effect. And vitamin E is an antioxidant which can prevent that oxidization, so it can keep the PUFAs in a non-harmful state. So Ray Peat would prefer you not take any PUFAs at all. I personally have found PUFAs to be very helpful in other ways, so I am taking quite a lot of PUFAs every day. Still, but adding on the vitamin E has helped me to increase my body temperature quite a lot. So what are the benefits that come with this? Obviously, as I mentioned, increasing energy is a very big one. By increasing your body temperature, you're basically increasing the rate at which your body burns fuel. So if you think of yourself as an engine, you're increasing your horsepower of your body. And this can firstly obviously increase the energy that you work at. So you might have some strength increase in the gym and just feel more lively in everyday activities. But also you're increasing the rate at which you burn energy, which is the rate at which you burn calories, so you will increase your metabolism and weight loss, which might be more important for some people, including me. So in fact, bodybuilders often supplement directly thyroid hormone before their shows to stimulate more weight loss. And I don't think that's legal, and I don't think it's particularly safe, so I wouldn't recommend it, but it displays the efficacy of raising body temperature as a means to generate weight loss. Now, I can't say I had any effect myself in that regard. I'm still far too portly, but my energy has gone up by a lot, and I'm basically able to keep my body temperature around 37 degrees Celsius at all times now. So that's been incredibly effective for me. I would definitely recommend you try it. Now, vitamin E is very cheap as a supplement, so it's very easy to just go down the grocery store and buy. And if you feel you're a bit low energy, and you can just measure with your thermometer, if you're in the low 36s, then you might just be able to take a vitamin E pill and immediately get a large energy increase. Now, while we're on the subject of body temperature and thyroid, I should also talk about copper. Now, copper is important to the thyroid, but it works in the opposite direction. So copper will calm the thyroid down. So for me, in my past, I have been in places where my thyroid was working too hot, basically. This was like far past the vitamin E story, but at some point I tried to increase my manganese supplementation, and the manganese pushed my body temperature from 37 to 37.3, 37.4, around there, and it became noticeably uncomfortably hot. And I didn't realize at the time, but in retrospect, I think that was due to not having enough copper in my system. And copper basically calms the thyroid down for you. So if you're having the opposite problem and feeling too hot, and you should check this with a thermometer. It's very easy to measure, so there's no excuse not to go out and buy one and just have a look where you are. But if you are running too hot, then maybe what you need is not vitamin E, but copper instead. Alright, that's all for today. Thanks for listening.